Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are here to take your sources, extract the absolute essentials, and give you the knowledge you need fast.
And today we're tackling a really universal experience.
Yeah, that feeling of high-stakes pressure.
That's right. Whether you're walking into a huge meeting, one that determines your company's future, or maybe launching a big creative project.
Or even just a difficult conversation you've been putting off.
Exactly, that feeling of dread, the physical tightness, the dry mouth. It can really feel like an existential threat to your success.
We call it tension, and we usually try to solve it by just, well, battling it.
We do. We suppress it. We go to war with ourselves.
Right, you tell yourself to breathe, calm down, just focus.
Which, ironically, just makes you hyper-aware of how uncalm you are. It's a terrible feedback loop.
But the source material we found today, it flips that entire struggle completely on its head.
It really does. Our source comes from the world of acting, specifically from the techniques of an actor and teacher named Eric Morris. And he spent decades coaching professionals. And what he discovered, it fundamentally challenges how we think about nervousness. The core revelation is that tension is not a defect. It's not a failure.
It is, and this is the surprising part, it's talent.
Precisely. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We want you to quickly understand this really counterintuitive approach.
We're going to unpack the idea that your high-stakes anxiety is actually a symptom of massive untapped potential.
And then we'll guide you through two incredibly specific, very practical methods from the source material for handling that overwhelming professional tension.
That's fascinating, but hold on, let's stop right there for a second.
Okay.
Tension feels paralyzing. It feels like the opposite of talent. If I'm shaking before a presentation, how on earth does this source material justify calling that potential?
That's the key question.
Sure.
Right. And to really get the utility of this approach, you have to understand the philosophy behind it.
Okay, let's unpack this with the source itself. It lays out the problem in these really clear, almost dramatic terms.
It does.
It calls tension the actor's archenemy. And it says it acts like a bottle cap.
A bottle cap, yeah. Clamping down on everything vital.
Creativity, quick thinking, spontaneous expression, the freedom you need to actually perform or execute something successfully just locks you up.
And this breakthrough, this philosophy, it didn't come out of a vacuum. It was born from a really painful personal struggle that Eric Morris himself faced.
Even as a working professional.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about a time when his tension was so extreme. I mean, he was in an acting class, and he would shake uncontrollably whenever the focus was on him.
Wow. A professional actor.
A professional actor physically immobilized by fear. He became so infamous for it that, get this, the legendary actor Harry Dean Stanton, who was in the class with him, nicknamed him King Tension.
King Tension?
Yeah.
That sounds debilitating.
It was. The source describes how this whole internal battle just came to a head. Morris was on stage, completely overwhelmed, and he just broke down.
Next day.
On stage, dropped to his knees, started crying, and basically said to his teacher, "I don't think I can ever conquer this. I will never be free of this tension."
And that desperation, that moment of hitting rock bottom,
Yeah.
that's what led to the big aha moment.
That's it. His teacher looked at him and delivered the revolutionary response that is, it's the whole basis of this deep dive. He said, "Eric, tension is talent."
Tension is talent.
And here's the core utility of that definition,
Yeah.
because the teacher gave a specific technical explanation. It allows us to move past the feeling of fear and into analysis.
Okay.
He defined tension as and this is a quote, "the manifestation of congested emotion, or more simply, congested impulses."
So it's not a lack of ability, it's not a lack of passion, it's a traffic jam of ability?
Exactly, a massive traffic jam. Think of it like this. If you show a huge amount of tension, if you feel that intense constriction in your chest or your throat, then you must be, as a source says, sitting on a mountain of impulses and emotions that are fighting to get out, but they have nowhere to go.
So the energy is real. The desire for the outcome is real, but the path to action is blocked.
It's blocked. And that perspective, that one shift, it instantly reframes the tension from this destructive enemy you have to fight into potential energy just waiting to be channeled.
That's a huge reframe. So instead of telling yourself, I shouldn't be nervous, you're acknowledging, wow, I have so much energy and emotion about this high-stakes task. that it's currently stuck.
And once you accept that, once you see tension as congested potential and not a defect, it leads you directly to the two actionable techniques we can use to clear that congestion.
Okay.
We'll start with the first one. It's an internal method, and it's all about radical acknowledgement.
And, this isn't just a problem for, say, new employees or people who are inexperienced. The source specifically highlights this.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It says tension is prevalent even in the greatest movie stars.
Hmm.
Why? Because they're human beings.
Yeah.
Like you, they're insecure, they're fearful, and they get tense. The difference is how they process it.
And that brings us to the first core instruction, which is very counterintuitive. You must acknowledge the tension.
You can't just ignore it.
You can't. The source explicitly warns against trying to redirect it or pretend you're better off than you are. That attempt to push it down, which is what we all do.
Constantly.
It's called actively incubating the tension. You're basically giving that energy a dark place to grow stronger instead of releasing it.
But wouldn't naming it, actually saying to myself, my throat is tight, wouldn't that just make me panic more? Isn't that bringing more attention to it?
That's the natural skepticism, I get it. But the mechanics of it work differently. When you're fighting the tension, you're burning a huge amount of cognitive energy in that internal war.
The don't shake, don't forget your point, don't look nervous monologue.
Exactly. When you just acknowledge it, you stop fighting. You free up all that processing power.
So the technique is literally just expression, even if it's just internal language. You call it out, you name the places it's manifesting.
Precisely. Morris gives these really specific physical examples of how you would acknowledge it internally. So if you're standing up to give a report, you might just think.
Silently to yourself.
Right. I'm tense in my chest, my legs are shaking a little bit, my throat is tensing up, and my mouth is dry. You're just stating the facts of your physical reality.
I can see the utility in that. If I'm about to pitch a client, instead of focusing on this terrifying future outcome, I just focus on the fact that my hands are sweating. It's an immediate grounding mechanism.
Yes. And that simple, courageous act of naming it, of keeping up that acknowledgement, that's what makes the tension lose its hold and its fearful influence over you.
It stops being this huge unknown threat, and it just becomes a list of physical sensations.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned a crucial nuance earlier, and we really need to dig into this because it's the difference between this working professionally and, well, embarrassing yourself.
Absolutely critical point. While this acknowledgement is essential for your own internal processing, it has to remain an internal exercise during those high-stakes moments.
So you're not actually saying it out loud.
No. If you're starting a presentation, you should not begin by announcing, "My throat is tight and I'm shaking."
Right.
This is for you. It's a tool for you to process before or during the moment to help you relax and focus. It is not for the client or the audience to witness.
You process the physical feeling privately, so you can channel the impulse publicly.
That's the key.
Okay, so method one addresses that internal fight by just observing and accepting the physical state. But what happens when that internal battle is so loud it keeps derailing you? What's the next step?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, once you've acknowledged that internal pressure, once you've stopped the fight, the next logical step is to break that self-critical feedback loop entirely.
By getting outside of yourself.
By getting completely outside of yourself. And this brings us to the second method, which is a bit of a contrast. It's called selfless involvement.
Selfless involvement.
Yeah.
That sounds almost like a mindfulness technique,
Right.
but dressed up in acting clothes.
It is, but it's very active. It's cognitive. It's not passive mindfulness. It's a 3-step process designed to force your engagement with whatever is around you.
Okay, what are the steps?
Observe, perceive, and wonder. This technique demands that you use your mind productively rather than letting it spiral into self-critique.
Let's break those down. Let's keep the professional context central here. Start with observation.
Observation is the factual step. It's just you, noting objective details in the environment or about the person you're with. So if you're in a tense negotiation,
Right.
you just look around and observe. The chairs in this room are dark blue. My counterpart is wearing a unique gold ring. The air conditioning sounds loud. It's purely objective, no judgment.
And the second step, perception, goes a little deeper. This is where you start to infer their state or their potential intent.
Right. You move from objective facts to a subjective interpretation. You're still focused externally, but you're interpreting data.
So using that negotiation example.
You might perceive the client's shoulders seem a little tight. I sense some frustration in the way the hiring manager is tapping their pen. The source notes This is where you might catch, say, a look of judgment, but you just note it externally.
Okay, so the difference is observation notes the pen is tapping,
Mm-hmm.
but perception notes that the tapping feels stressed or irritated.
Exactly. And then you immediately move to the third step, wonder. This is the key that turns perception into external engagement. You start asking these non-judgmental, curiosity-driven questions
About the other person or the environment.
based on your perception. So if you notice the tight shoulders and the pen tapping, you might think, I wonder what the client is feeling right now, completely independent of me. I wonder if they got bad news before this meeting.
Or even, I wonder if they're aware they're doing that.
Yes, you're making the other person or the situation the object of your intense, curious focus.
And the immediate effect of doing that, this observe, perceiving, wonder process,
Yeah,
it has to completely halt the self-critical cycle.
it does.
You're no longer thinking, did I just say that right? Do I look stupid?
Yeah.
You're fully engaged with the reality around you.
And that shift is dramatic. When you're genuinely involved in this active external observation, the tension, it vanishes or evaporates.
Because your energy is externalized.
And productively engaged rather than remaining internal and self-destructive. It breaks the grip of fear by forcing engagement with something other than the feeling of fear itself.
It stops the congestion by making the exit flow outward.
That's a perfect way to put it. The energy that was going into battling your anxiety is now channeled into actively processing the external environment.
Which is what you're supposed to be doing in any professional interaction anyway. You're leveraging the anxiety's own energy for observation.
It's a complete transformation. You stop seeing a room full of people judging you and you start seeing a collection of factual details and, complex human beings that you need to actively engage with. It makes the performance less about you and more about the communication.
And for those who are highly technical or maybe preparing for a big public speaking event, the source material does point to further resources.
It does, yeah. It mentions Eric Morse's books, No Acting, Please, Freeing the Actor, and Irreverent Acting.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the person listening to this?
We've really covered two fundamental complementary paths from the source material for handling that overwhelming tension.
The first path is internal acknowledgement.
Right. Blowing the whistle on the tension, calling it out by location, accepting the reality of that physical feeling.
And the second path is that external focus, using selfless involvement, observe, perceive, wonder, to force your mind outside of your own head and onto the environment around you.
And both of these methods work to prevent that highly charged, congested energy from incubating and becoming this paralyzing fear.
This really extends so far beyond the stage or a classroom.
Absolutely. If you are experiencing high anxiety before a major project launch, a pitch, a critical performance review, the tension you feel is not a signal of incompetence or failure.
It's proof that you're engaged.
It's undeniable proof of deep emotional and professional engagement. It proves that you care deeply about the outcome.
The final thought we want to leave you with is this. If tension is truly the manifestation of congested impulses, what is it that you're holding back?
What profound, essential action or truth or argument are you currently congesting?
The problem isn't the feeling of energy itself. The problem is the bottleneck between the impulse, the thing that needs to be said, the creative leak that needs to be taken, and the expression.
What crucial thing is waiting inside you, waiting for you to simply acknowledge the pressure and let the talent flow?